So exercise is a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
And I think there's kind of, if I was to broadly bucket it, there's probably two different bits. Our view of it's that classic thing around like judges being harsher in the afternoons because of how we feel.
I suppose it's quite a broad subject, but what is the point of curiosity?
I think that there should be an app to help you find the nearest poodle to play with at any one time. And
That's a great idea.
There you go.
Curious Conversations.
Welcome to Curious Conversations, where we talk about all things creativity, curiosity and innovation. We also do a interesting challenge with Lego, and today I'm joined by somebody who is the founder of Sideways 6, a tinkerer, which I found was quite interesting actually, a tinkerer, creator, angel investor, fitness fanatic, DJ, which we might come on to later, and a recent marathon runner.
Yep.
So welcome to Curious Conversations, Will Reed.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Excellent.
And
would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us about maybe about Sideways 6 and your role
absolutely.
and things like that.
So my day job, the thing I spend most of my time on is Sideways 6, which I founded coming up to 12 years ago now. So at Sideways 6, our mission is to help bring great ideas to life every day, everywhere, and from everyone. And we do that through some software that we've built that helps innovative companies to set challenges to employees, get ideas in response, find the best ideas, bring them to life, and have a fantastic experience along the way. So as I said, I've been doing that for about 11 years. We're a kind of team of people across the world with some fantastic, innovative customers. A couple of years ago, we joined Interact Group through an acquisition. So that's been a really exciting phase of Sideways 6 as well. And I love what I do because it sits at the intersection of creativity, of innovation. And because we're working with some really important large organizations, it means that those innovations are actually having an impact on the world every day, which is just so cool.
Nice. Well done. You seem to like ideal guest today for the podcast. Yeah. So as you might have seen already, we do an interactive, hopefully fun, hands-on activity with Lego. So here's the Lego. So would you like to effectively take some of the Lego, take wherever you want, there's a box full of all sorts of stuff in there, and create something that represents your curiosity?
Okay, let's do it.
Well, curiosity, creativity or innovation, whatever you want to
Excellent.
do.
I'm going to go with curiosity and creativity.
Is there anything like grabbing your attention in the Lego?
So I want there to be something in there that is natural.
Yeah. Because
for me, and I think this might be something that we come back to, I feel most curious and most creative when I feel actually most calm.
Yeah.
And when I feel most spacious, almost. And I think one of the killers of my creativity and of my curiosity is when I'm on the back foot.
Yeah.
When I feel kind of smaller or more cramped or less expansive. So I'm going for some greenery because for me, nature gives me that.
Yeah.
So I'm building a little scene there, and then perhaps actually we can even have some blue for the sea.
So
these guys are going to get together.
Obviously you're a recent marathon runner. Joined the 1% of people in the world who run marathons for fun-ish. So I suppose when I did my ones, I found actually running, I suppose because you got endorphins going around, you are breathing, you got a lot of oxygen. I started getting some really interesting and creative thought to some of the problems that I had. Have you found that the same sort of thing?
100%. So exercise is a huge part of my life. Yeah. And I think there's kind of, if I was to broadly bucket it, there's probably two different bits or two different roles that exercise can play. Yeah. One of them, I don't have any space to think about anything. Yeah. So it's like super intense. Yeah. It's helping me kind of get out of my own head. And that's probably not the marathon running or maybe the end of it. Yeah. But the running serves a purpose for me of actually allowing me to kind of feel that spaciousness. Yeah. It's just me. My wife kind of laughs because I'll either have some podcast I'm not really listening to on, or I'll just kind of not have anything on. Yeah. And it definitely gives that opportunity to kind of rearrange thoughts, to let things settle, to let things sift. And that can be really, really curious. And can definitely finish a run or come back from a run feeling or like having a bunch of things to kind of
Yeah.
act on afterwards, or to a new way of seeing things,
Yeah.
which would be really, really helpful.
Difficulty is when you get those lucid ideas and you've got to write them down somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Or,
Try to remember them.
I'm trying to get better at, I think by my, like, inbuilt, I want everything to be logical and solve things. And like you say, if I've got some idea on run, I want it to, like, it's almost like pull over in a cafe, ask to borrow a piece of paper and a pen. I'm trying to get better at just letting it go. Yeah. So even if you think that you've got that kind of bright idea, or you think you've got this big thought, I think there's something quite nice about just letting it pass through. And if it comes back, it comes back, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. And it's just, your mind is still doing that defragmenting, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I find if I go for a run, is things start. You're supposed to do some internal ideation on them as well. Mm-hmm. If you latch onto something, you go, that's like the best idea ever.
Yeah,
and then you start going, what about if I did this? And what if I did this?
It's like the ideas, the thoughts definitely get a boost from the endorphins. I guess an idea is likely to feel a lot better during a run than it is, say, if you are stuck on a sweltering hot bus going nowhere and you're having a terrible time. The same thing. Yeah. And I think that probably talks to the fact that our view of, it's that classic thing around like judges being harsher in the afternoons because of how we feel. Like, actually really matters how we feel. And it actually and maybe actually, even though an idea might feel better there, that doesn't to discount it. Yeah. Maybe I'm a huge fan of Edward de Bono's work on creative thinking. Talks about like putting the black hat on and being taking a certain angle, putting the red hat on, taking a certain angle. Maybe it is actually interesting to take the angle of, what if you were feeling really energized for a run? What does this look like? And what if you were feeling really annoyed at this, that, and the other? How does this idea seem?
I think it's that the lack of distraction, probably. The fact that you are breathing, you're getting more oxygen, you've got endorphins going round. You're not really concentrating on anything else apart from obviously moving forward and maybe checking your watch if you're doing it to a particular time or something. So maybe there's something about that, like being free. Like I suppose it's a bit like meditating. Yeah. When you're meditating, you're effectively freeing yourself. You're just focused on one thing only, and it calms the mind down, calms the body.
It's interesting letting your mind go as well. So I don't know if you ever tried like a floating or a sensory deprivation tank. No. I tried one out. And I tried to kind of meditate, so the whole like focus on my breath. Yeah. Every time my mind wanders, bring myself back to my breath. And I almost went mad. So I'd booked it for an hour, and obviously you don't know how long I'd been in there, but I wasn't far off, like kind of breaking and opening the thing up. So then I was like, this has not gone well. This is horrible. I spoke to them on the way out. They were like, how was it? And I was like, well, I thought I was going to be really relaxed. And that was the least relaxing experience I've had in a long time. And I think it was because I packed on all of this expectation. So then they said, well, try it again, but this time don't make yourself think you've got to meditate, don't any of the rest of it. Just lie there. And if you think, then you think. Yeah. And if you can go down those paths. And so that's what I did. And I came out with so many ideas and things to act on and all the rest of it, because I've given my mind 60 minutes to just chill out without expectation, without any kind of shame around not being productive enough, without any shame around like, this must be a very useful hour's use of your time. And then I was like went to a massive fan. And I think running probably serves the same purpose. As long as you're not massively taxing yourself, and you've got that space to just be, I think it probably serves a purpose, especially for people that, I don't know if this resonates, but like my mind, given the chance, would always like to be doing something. Like it's pretty helpful for me that I've got some toys in front of me while having this conversation. But it would like to be checking or doing, and so when that's taken out, it can be a really positive thing.
You have a flotation tank at work?
No, I think that's a bit much. And they also make the building very damp, because the one I go to was beautiful when I first went a few years ago, and it's now soggy throughout. So maybe
seems like a good idea.
Yeah, I was like, I think this is the type of thing you want to be renting by the hour rather than owning. Yeah. I think I'm gonna call it there. So it's slightly abstract, and please don't think I've got ideas about my station by putting angel wings on my own back. That was how it came. And I think what we've got here is a little scene where we are in nature. That's
Yeah.
what that green is. We are by the sea. For me, I feel my best when I'm by the sea, when I'm by that kind of big vista that reminds you that you are tiny. And that is when I'm sparking creativity. That's when I'm sparking curiosity. We live by the sea, and I'll often just go and kind of sit down and look at it. It sounds a bit sad, but sit down and kind of have some of the best ideas whilst being reminded that, I don't know, in a certain sense, nothing really matters, and and it's all tiny, and that's what this little ladder is going out. That is my path forwards, spurred on by the curiosity and the creativity that I'm getting from my surroundings.
Gangplank into
or I could be forcing myself to walk the plank. Open to interpretation. And again, these wings, yeah, don't know.
Brilliant, that's great. So let's jump into some of the questions. So obviously this podcast is called Curious Conversations. Always start with something out of curiosity. So this is, I suppose it's quite a broad subject, but what is the point of curiosity?
Yeah, well, it actually, I was having a conversation the other day. I am a new parent, fantastic, like the most amazing thing. And we were talking about what traits would you ideally like your children to have. Curiosity was in my top 2. So I said if I could only choose 2 things for my child to kind of end up with personality trait-wise, I would choose curiosity and resilience. And I think if you had those 2 things, I'm sure I'm forgetting, like not remembering some things, but if you had those 2 things, you'd be in a really great spot for a happy life, well lived.
Yeah.
So for me, I think curiosity is incredibly, incredibly important. And the point of it, obviously N of 1, but the point of it in my life, I would say that almost everything positive in my life might be downstream of curiosity. Like, oh, I wonder who that person is. Like, I wonder. And I'm at my best when I'm in a curious state, and I'm at my worst when I'm in a state where I feel like I know, and therefore I'm not curious. And where I feel like I know, I don't mean kind of being a know-it-all, but I'm probably in my worst state if I kind of am dismissing someone because like I've met someone like them before, and therefore I know. Whereas if I'm curious, I've never met this person before. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if I met someone that I'm bucketing as like this person before. I've never met this person before. Yeah. Then I'm at my best. Or like Sideways 6 is downstream of curiosity, right? I started the company because I thought, well, why doesn't this type of thing exist? Oh, it kind of does exist. Why is it not quite working? Oh, well, maybe there's a better way. Yeah. And being curious. And then again, I would say that I'm at my worst and least happy, the word's not productive, but like I'm kind of creative. Yeah, dissatisfied, the least creative when I shut down that curiosity. So have an idea of, oh, why doesn't this exist? And it's like, it doesn't. If it was actually a good idea, then it would already exist. Yeah, shut it down. I think curiosity leads to you finding out about yourself and what you enjoy. I think curiosity about people leads to great connections. I think curiosity about things leads to really fulfilling, enriching. Lives and the kind of learning journeys. So quite important.
I'm interested about the resilience part. So, and I suppose this is a link between the creativity, part of the innovation stuff. So it's about, from my perspective, I suppose my interpretation around resilience is trying something, failing, learning, and then getting up and doing it again and going, it didn't matter, but I've now learned something actually. Yeah. So it's interesting. Why did you pick resilience as another one? Because life's not going to be easy, right? So let's say you are curious. There's this thing around like you can do anything you want, or you can be anyone you want to be. And that's kind of like half true and half a load of rubbish at the same time, in my opinion. I think if you are incredibly resilient, then it's probably true that you can do whatever you want, because you'll find a path and you'll get bumped along the way, but that's absolutely fine. But the world, for example, just to you be kind of tried, the world doesn't owe you to be, let's say your dreams are to be a pop star. Like the world doesn't owe you that. But if your dreams are to be a pop star and you're incredibly resilient, then the world might just deliver some kind of job in entertainment that feels like it's fulfilling some of your kind of pop star dreams. And I think you can apply that to loads and loads of places. And I think resilience probably comes hand in hand with a general feeling that everything's going to be okay. Like, okay, things might be a bit crap at the moment. I might have got rejected. I might have failed. But in general, I have this kind of self-belief that over time, things will end up going the kind of right direction. Because
without that, why would you be resilient? You
Yeah.
might as well crawl into a corner and give up. So I think resilience is super, super important. That does not mean arrogance. It doesn't, like, if you take like a business idea, the resilience is not, I think that there should be an app to help you find the nearest poodle to play with at any one time, and
That's a great idea.
there you go. and then like I can, and therefore that should exist in the world. And it's not ignorance. It's not like the world owes me that exists. It's just a feeling that in general things will be okay if I keep working towards it. I think it probably is also hand in hand with agency, which is a bit buzzword at the moment, like being high agency, like having a feeling that you can impact the world as opposed to it happening to you. So it feels super, super important.
Yeah. Is it adaptability
in
there as well, effectively? And that, I suppose, it goes hand in hand with the resilience and curiosity.
And curiosity.
So you can go, I want to be a pop star, but actually I might not be a pop star, and you have some sliding door moments where you turn into a producer.
Exactly. And then you still feel like, and then when someone says, how did you become a producer? You go, well, I've always wanted to be in entertainment agent. I've always wanted to be in the entertainment industry. And it's like your mum's there going, well, you actually wanted to be a pop star. It's like, no, I always wanted to be in the entertainment industry. Exactly. I think that happens. The adaptability happens if you're curious and resilient, and so absolutely so important. You will roll with the punches. You will be curious enough to go, okay, that didn't work, but like, why didn't it work? Our first customer, a fantastic customer. I went to them with this idea, and my idea was basically a really sexy suggestion box, if suggestion boxes can be sexy. So there was already loads of software out there to help you run ideas programs with your employees, but I had done a load of market research, and it turned out that none of them were like working that well. So there was like high churn in the industry. There wasn't a clear winner, and I, with the arrogance and ignorance of not knowing the industry, I came to it and said, well, it's just because no one else has done it like well enough. So stupid on reflection, right? Like, but I just came to it to be like, no one else has done it well enough, and that was completely the wrong stance to take. But anyway, managed to book this meeting with a really large company. Went and spoke to them, and they said, look, we like it, but we're not going to do it because we're also launching this other thing at the moment called Yammer, and there's no way that we could launch these two things at once. And so whilst I'd been really arrogant and kind of stupid and taking the wrong turns up until then with this idea of just, well, I can do it better than these other people who are probably just as bright or brighter than me and have been in the game for longer. At that point, I did do something right, which is to go, okay, cool. They're saying no to the existing idea, but why are they saying no? And that's the curiosity. So, well, why are they saying no? It's like, because they're launching this other thing. It's like, well, is there an opportunity for us to connect with that other thing? Like, what would it look like if they do want to do the thing, but they don't want to launch? And so in the end, our first product was a way to run ideas programs in Yammer, which was like basically their idea, because they'd come up with it. But you have to then be curious enough to say, well, what's the learning here? What's the insight? As opposed to just either, no, you must like this, or, oh God, they don't like it. Like, oh, never mind.
Then go disappear off and say, that didn't work. I'll try something else. Cool. So one of the things touched on at the beginning when obviously describing yourself around Sideways 6 and the slogan around ideas from everywhere. So what was the inspiration behind that? And how can you give our listeners some ideas around how to adopt that ethos, I suppose?
Yeah, so I mean, we're a mission-driven company. We have actually had two different missions in our life as a company. The first was to give a voice to 50 million people. And that's important because another place that this kind of came from was my own experience in a large corporate of not feeling like I had a voice in the change at the company. So that is important. But I think about halfway through our life so far, we realized that wasn't actually what got us up and excited in the morning. The thing that got us up and excited in the morning was the change that was happening as a result of the ideas that were coming through. Like a really small example, there's a beer, if you go on British Airways, called Speedbird 100, and that came from an employee idea that Brewdog and BA should collaborate to celebrate the best of British. Yeah. That's really cool. Like for me, it's really cool that this exists because of this little company that we kind of started. And there's like thousands of other examples of that. So we changed the mission to helping to bring good ideas to life every day, everywhere, and from everyone. And with that came this slogan of ideas from anywhere. And what ideas from anywhere really means to us is that every day, everywhere, and from everyone. So that everywhere means if you're on the shop floor or if you're the CEO, we want to hear. Like, we want to hear your ideas. We want to set out what the company cares about, what our mission is, and then you respond with your ideas. Personally, what ideas from anywhere and that kind of everywhere bit means to me, I guess it is that curiosity. I guess it's intaking lots of things. I guess it's like having lots of conversations, and I guess it's trying to be open to whatever might spark there. I have this like never-ending Notion list of ideas that come from literally everywhere. Like, they might come from podcasts, they might come from stuff that's going to go off in my head based on this conversation. It might come from chats. They might come from seeing something work in one country and thinking, why can't that work in another country? So I guess that would be it. And then the ideas from everyone is just a nod to the fact that, like, you could have been there for 30 years or you could be onboarding. You could be from any which background, socioeconomic situation, and you've got something really interesting to contribute, and we should take that really, really seriously. Yeah.
One of the things that I suppose, one of the other questions I had around, I heard something that uncertainty is the new certainty, and obviously we live in a world now which is, there's lots of stuff happening everywhere. So how is there something that you've either adopted or you implement Sideways 6 or some of the other people you invest with in terms of creating a safe space for people to experiment and to have a safe area for them to fail? It's something's really, also something from the podcast we've found is failure and being able to fail, especially in a professional organisation, is generally frowned upon to a certain extent, less so in the creative industry. But it'd be interesting to understand from your side, how do you create that?
It's really interesting. So uncertainty is really, really interesting. I've got a mate called Sam who has a project called the Uncertainty Experts, and he went and interviewed people who had huge amounts of uncertainty in their life. Like, we're talking people who grew up as drug dealers or whatever else. And he distilled the ways in which they were able to not just deal with, but thrive in uncertainty, and some principles that we could all use as people. So there's an amazing, I mean, that is a straight up plug for the Uncertainty Experts, because it's a fantastic course and some fantastic free online stuff as well. The second thing would be, how do you allow for failure? I would say, funnily enough, that we've not been amazing at that for our whole life as a company. I think we've got better, and I think we're at a place where most people feel comfortable enough failing, but I'd like to see that improve, and I'd like to see everyone very comfortable with failure. I think some of the ways that we've improved things is we've made it very, very clear what the true north is. What do we care about as a company? Mm-hmm. What are we trying to make happen? Because I think some of the things that you can feel as a leader of a business, if you ever get frustrated by failure, I think it's probably either like, why were we doing that in the first place? That never had a chance of helping us achieve the thing that we'd like to achieve, or poor execution. If it's poor execution, then you've got like maybe a standards problem, or you've got the wrong people on the bus. That's a separate thing. If it's we weren't trying to achieve the right thing, then that's a me thing. That's my fault. That's my fault as a leader for not communicating what we're trying to achieve and the kind of places we should be playing. If it's great execution and we were trying to achieve the right thing, then that's great failure, in my opinion. Like, that's an experiment. And then the only way that could be bad failure is if we don't learn from it. So if you do it in a vacuum, you don't shout about it, the learnings don't go anywhere, we try the same thing a couple of years later, all of the parameters are the same, we run the same experiment because we didn't do enough with it. So I'd say they're probably the three things that I think about to make me more comfortable with failure and to set up for productive failure. And then if I communicate those things to people, if I communicate that we want a culture that has experiments, we want a culture where the only way we're going to get different results is if we try new things. The only way, unless there's no world in which we try everything new we try, is successful, and therefore, so you deduce that you have to fail in order to
learn,
in order to have any different results to what you're currently seeing.
Do you think that obviously the prevalence of AI now particularly in the working environment, we've had it in probably our personal lives for a lot longer than we probably appreciate. But things like Copilot, ChatGPT, etc. Is it allowing us now to be easier to fail and to test, or is it effectively getting rid of the creativity, curiosity, and innovation stuff that comes from obviously the brain and obviously?
I think it's got the potential to do either and both. Yeah. I think it's probably doing both depending on different people and different people's situations. If I put myself in my shoes when I was on that grad scheme at that large corporate, and I got given Copilot, it wouldn't make me any more creative. It would make me spend less time doing the bare minimum of stuff that I had to do. And like, this might be terrible to admit, but it's true, doing the bare minimum of stuff that I had to do. So I would start firing off emails that Copilot wrote for me without really thinking them through. I would put whatever work I was asked to do through Copilot, and if it came up with something pretty good, I'd probably kind of shift that off, and I'd be like a fleshy interface for Copilot to just kind of do my work and to make my life easier. And that's because I was like disengaged, didn't have the context in the organization. So that's definitely one way that things can go. What we see with a bunch of our kind of great people is where they are engaged, where they really do care, it becomes a force multiplier for you to have more impact and do more cool stuff. So the flip side of just letting it write your emails for you is to let it kind of have it as this fantastic assistant that can like help you with the research, help you see new things, help be that kind of trite thought partner. And you can use it to therefore like do harder things, do bigger things, have more impact. And I think that's where it becomes most exciting. On the creativity point, we still need human creativity, because I know like when ChatGPT released their new image model and everyone was doing that Studio Ghibli stuff, that was a really interesting moment, right? Because they had built this huge breakthrough piece of technology, but for those first 36, 48 hours, they might have as well have called it like cartoon generator by OpenAI. And that showed like a lack of creativity. And we're seeing it again with VO3 comes through from Google. And the first few times you see a vlogger on the streets of Rome, it's like really cool. And you're like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. It's really cool. But then it's almost like people have just taken that this software is only for putting vloggers into like weird historical situations. And that's where it's the creative person came up with it. And then the people who are it's not that they're not creative, but they're not exercising creativity are just following suit. And so I think it's on us as people to take these tools and to be creative, but I don't think that will happen by default.
I do find actually what we've got, so we use Copilot in RLB, and I found it is actually sparking a bit more curiosity in me and going, oh, I wonder if it can do this, or I wonder if it can do that. And I've got this problem I've got at the moment, so I wonder if I can get this done. And it is and a little bit for me, it's about trial and error. And now I've got access to the Copilot agent now, so I can now create my own things as well.
It's amazing. And I can do so much. I can have so much more impact than I ever could. Or I could not, like depending on how I use these tools, and depending on how I feel, depending on how engaged I am. I could go from like some product requirement that we have, I could ingest a bunch of transcriptions that we've got from previous product conversations with our customers. I could get it to deep research the whole web for not just what competitors are up to, not just what technology allows now, but also what comparisons run. Like we're an idea management platform. There are lots of other pieces of software that manage lots of other things, and therefore there's a lot we can learn from them. I could run synthetic user interviews. That's really interesting. If we give it enough about our persona, you can actually start to run these kind of interviews with AI that give you some of, like not all the way there. Then I can prototype in seconds. Like I can play around with a V0 or a Bolt, and like I can have where previously we found a bunch of notebooks from our early days recently, and they are like our analytics engine. It was a bunch of pencil on paper drawings that I drew, took a picture, sent to Nikita, my CTO, who lived in a different country at that point. He went and kind of built it. Now I can prototype. I can like prompt. You can low-code it. I can end up with a kind of HTML application, or kind of not just HTML, but like a front end application. I can be like, oh no, that's not what I meant. This doesn't really work. Go back and forth, then hand that over to the product team. So there is so much more opportunity than ever before. If you are thinking, I want to be creative, and I want to do new things. I want to do more than I used to.
Yeah, definitely. Right, so I've got my final question as well. So the final question, effective, is we created Curious Conversations to get insight and inspiration from different individuals from different backgrounds, not necessarily from construction industry and built environment as our hobby is. So I suppose one of the things that I'd be interested to, from your perspective, is to understand, if you had a crystal ball in terms of our built environment, how would you interact with it? How do you think we would interact with it, or what would it look like? And it's interesting. I suppose everyone we've done so far has been very different.
Yeah, cool. I think it's really interesting. I'm not in the space. Obviously, we have a bunch of people in the space that I chat to regularly, but I'm a layman. I think when I think about the opportunity for built environment, does place and the real world become much more important to us, and are we more thoughtful about the places we want to spend time and like the real world? If there's if digital consumes too much of our lives, right? So there's horrible statistics about how much of our lives are spent on screen in this kind of in this non-real world. I'm hopeful, and I think there's going to be some kind of backlash against that. If you look at the devices that people are talking about now, it's like a disc that you put on your table so that I can have this conversation, as opposed to us having like a video call. Hopefully that's the way that we go. Does place then become more important to kind of nourish people? I hope so. And I think so there'll be an interesting thing around building places where people really want to spend time in the real world, as opposed to what might be a trend recently, which is like building great places to then connect and like to connect with the digital world and engage. So do they look healthier? Do they look more interesting and stimulating? Do they kind of mirror nature more? That would be my hope for a future. So it feels it's much more around engaging with spaces. We are much more kind of conscious and intentional with the spaces that we spend our time in. We are more interested in how they serve us from like a health perspective. For me, for example, very interested in what a really healthy home looks like, not just like a gym in it, but ventilation wise, like what's the quality of the air, what's the quality of the water. That would be my hope. How we get there, I don't know.
I suppose it comes back to your Lego piece, actually, which is all around place and being your calm place.
Centered and real. That's when I'm in the real world, right? I personally struggle with spending too much time in a slushy, sludgy digital world that I don't leave thinking, great, I'm really glad I've spent time there. It's spending time in the real world that nourishes me. It's spending time in the real world that gets me excited. That all the things we talk about in this conversation. I'd like to spend more time there, and obviously you are all responsible for building that world. So over to
Good
you.
luck. That's brilliant. So would you like to tell our listeners anything about the exciting projects you're currently working on, or things that are coming in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sideways 6 is obviously the bulk of my attention. Also on that theme of health and fitness, like I angel invest in a bunch of companies, and some of the most interesting ones that I'm interested in at the moment are in those health, fitness, longevity, living a healthy life spaces. So I think there's a lot happening there. If you work hard enough, you'll be able to track down some of my DJ mixes online, which is just a kind of exciting hobby. But in general, I'm very bullish on human creativity, connection, and the real world as we go into these uncharted territories. I just think we have to be intentional about all of those things. I don't think they'll happen by default.
Perfect. So as a thank you, we'd like to make a donation to charity that you support. So would you like to tell us a little about the charity and why you chose them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I chose Spread Your Wings, which is a charity set up to help those with Angelman syndrome, which is a neurological condition that makes life quite a lot harder for about 500,000 people worldwide at the moment. It's a charity and a condition that is particularly close to a particularly close friend of mine. So I really appreciate the gesture, and I'm glad that we'll be able to help them out.
Perfect, thank you. So thanks, Will. I suppose we did have a big long list of questions, but as I said, I think we saw you go sort
then
of
you
go
get
off
chatting,
track. Yeah, and I suppose that is where the power of these conversations, particularly creativity, curiosity, and where I become curious about some of the stuff you said, and then they start sparking off each other, and you go, oh, maybe I've got some ideas and things.
Exactly. This isn't the end, beginning.
No, and we're also in the
every
real world
conversation
as well.
is a new beginning.
Yeah, definitely, brilliant. So to our listeners, I hope you enjoyed today's Curious Conversations. Stay creative, stay curious, and see you on the next one.
Thanks.
Curious Conversations.